Welcome back to our second episode of Build, Lead, Grow. I'm Brian Downard. I'm here today with Scott Kreisberg from One Step Retail here in Glendale, California. Scott, thank you very much for being with us.
No problem.
Why don't we start by talking a little about One Step Retail and what you guys do?
Okay, good. Well, One Step is a retail technology company. So in other words, we provide technology to retailers. Things like point of sale, inventory control, e-commerce, credit card processing, and even mobile POS like you see in the Apple stores nowadays.
What initially got you into that?
Oh, there's stories behind everything, right? I needed to work my way through college, and retail is a great environment to do that, and they're very lenient with your availability, and they support you during that time. So I worked through retail, got my bachelor's degree and a computer science minor. So when I graduated, I was a computer consultant. And one day I was introduced to a new client that had a retail store, and they needed a point of sale system, which nobody knew what a point of sale system was back then. And so I did some research and found a vendor that could provide that for this client. And I thought to myself, this would be a great industry to go in. So lo and behold, life took me this way.
Has that always been your vision for One Step, to be a technology provider for companies? Has that changed since day one at all? Has it always been, that's been the goal? I know a lot of times businesses have to pivot. For example, when I first started, we were making iPhone apps. We realized very quickly that unless you can get a bunch of projects lined up in a row, it's hard to stay profitable. At some point, did you have to change the initial idea for what this was?
Yes, when I graduated college, I was a computer consultant. I mostly focused on medical practices, medical billing systems. Right. And but back when I was doing this, computer knowledge was somewhat new, and someone recommended me to this retail establishment, which I then have completely converted over from the medical industry to 100% providing retail technology.
So I was talking about when I started my company, I think that I consider the decision to pivot and stop making iPhone apps was one of the most important decisions that I had to make. Can you think of an example of a really important decision, or one of the most important decisions you had to make that determined the future of your business?
Yeah. There's been a number of challenges. Running a small business is challenging as is. But when you're a single product, when you only offer one thing, right, you are exposed to inherent dangers. And there was a moment where our one vendor experienced a momentary problem.
Right.
And so our entire sales funnel evaporated, and we were like, now what? So we completely got past that.
How did you overcome that?
Well,
a lot of hustling.
Yeah, exactly. It's really what it is. We work hard, we persevere, and we sacrifice, right? So, but the way we handle that on a go-forward basis is not having all our eggs in one basket, so to speak. So we now sell 5 different solutions. So that's how we've overcome that. And at any given time, one of these vendors or suppliers could ebb and flow, and they could have a problem, and we've been able to maneuver around that.
Well, I really like that you use we a lot. I mean, you're a smart guy. A lot of this couldn't be done by yourself. It takes a team of people.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about what that was like, what you were looking for when hiring these people, and how important you think they are to the success of the business.
Well, our employees, we like to call them, staff or team members, but it's everything. And what we do is really, really challenging. So you need to have a strong mix of knowledge. You need to know retailing really, really well, and you need to know technology really well. And to find people like that is not easy. And so we hire a lot of ex-retailers because our clients want to talk to people that speak their language.
Yeah.
And then we have a whole lot of technology guys and girls that are brilliant at what they do. And sometimes we'll lock those two types of personalities in a room, and we'll lock them in and say, don't come out until you have a solution. And that gets pretty exciting at times. But you know what? They rock some great solutions.
It's excellent. I mean, it sounds like you do a great job motivating them. What things do you do to help facilitate that and their willingness to be excited about coming into work?
I think vision is the key to that. If you have more than a handful of employees, to spread that gospel, so to speak, of what the business is all about, really makes it so you don't have to manage employees. And if they get it and they want to do it and they're excited about it, they work really, really hard. So, but you have to pay them well. I mean, look, let's just be honest.
This is a competitive industry.
It's a competitive industry. Their talent is not easy to find, and so we take really good care of our people. We really judge our success to some degree with longevity of staff. And so we have really pretty decent turnover in the first 6 months, believe it or not, because people will come in and they'll go, "Whoa, this is pretty challenging." And if they make it past 6 months, I mean, we have employees that have been with me for 25 years. And so if they're staying with us, that means we're doing something right. So that's one of the ways we do it.
You actually jumped the gun a little. That was going to be a question I had later, is how do you define, the success of this business?
Yeah, well, we do. So that is one of them, is longevity and the satisfaction that we provide with our staff. And the other is how well we're doing with our clients, because without customers and without the staff, we're nothing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't really like to pit those two against each other. So customers and staff are equally important. So when we get positive feedback from our clients, we do regular surveys with our customers, and if we hear that we're doing things right, then we know we're doing things right. And of course, if we're adding new customers at a nice clip, that's obvious as well.
Absolutely. So then as a leader, as the leader of this business, how would you say being a leader is different than being a manager? We talk about motivating people, getting the right team. What would you say the difference between those two roles are?
Well, I don't know if the viewers are mostly, small, medium, or large, but for a small to medium-sized business, what I can tell you is they're almost one and the same. And they're not the same thing, but we don't have dedicated visionaries and dedicated leaders and dedicated managers. In our business, our managers are also leaders and visionaries. And if you can't do that, and you need to have separated expertise, you're probably a larger business. But let me answer your question. I think a good leader is charismatic. I think a good leader leads by example, and is trustworthy and honest. And if you put that together with a vision that is honest and people can stand behind, you have a leader. Okay, managers are so incredibly important. I mean, what they do is keep people motivated on a daily basis, right? And they keep them focused on what needs to be done each day.
Right.
So very, very challenging role as well.
So we talked for a moment a little bit about some characteristics of leaders. Habits and characteristics might be similar, but are there any habits that you think leaders have that make them successful, or things that they need to do to be successful?
Again, I think it would probably depend a lot on the size of the company, but for sure there's basic characteristics. I think being a visionary and sharing that vision with your team. But organizational skills today are required. Those people I see that have strong organizational skills, that are able to commit to some form of organization, seem to succeed. Today I have 50 plus balls in the air, and if I didn't have those skills, I'd have 5.
Right.
And I see people struggling with 5.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I think those are really key. And then being, willing to work hard is very important, and persevering. So you get adversity and you persevere, right? And sacrifice, believe it or not. I think sacrifice is really, really important. So why do I say sacrifice? It sounds like a bit of a, why is he, because if you sacrifice today, you get freedom tomorrow. And so I think that's important.
No, and I think that's a great word for it. One of my favorite athletes, Kobe Bryant, was quoted saying, he appreciates meeting other professional athletes that have accomplished things like he has, because they understand the sacrifices that it takes to become great, and the things you need to do to become great.
The hard work,
right.
The perseverance. And today, most of the kids I meet are like, they think that Kobe just was born great.
Yeah, it's days and days of practice. So Tell me, we're speaking about role models. Anyone in your professional career, your life, that you look up to, people who inspired you, whether it's professional athletes, business leaders?
On any given day, I'd probably come up with a different answer. But what comes top of my mind right now is a famous coach at UCLA, Joe Wooden. He's awesome. And I love Jack Welch, who's an ex-CEO of General Electric. And when I was young, going through college, I had a mentor, and I think that's really key, is somebody that you can look up to, somebody that is trustworthy and will guide you correctly, what classes to take, how to start a business, things like that. I think mentorship is quite critical.
Right. I've appreciated that in our relationship. While I've been growing my business, you've been very helpful in offering advice and being there, so I appreciate that.
No problem.
So let's switch gears for a second. We'll talk about my favorite subject for a second, is marketing. In terms of growing this business, let's start at the very beginning. What kinds of things did you do at the beginning of this business to get it out there in front of people?
Well, when I first started the business, most of the popular ways were direct mail pieces, right? And so we did a lot of that for many, many years. And then with the advent, of course, of the internet, things have changed with electronic media. So I don't know if you want to go into that.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. I've seen, personally, just going into breweries or smaller businesses, how point of sale systems, the services you offer and hardware you offer, have changed so drastically. You can it went from a big cash register to now an iPad with a little credit card swiper on it. So, how has technology and the internet changed your business, changed what you do?
It has transformed the entire...
Completely flipped it on its head.
Yeah, before, when we wanted to do a presentation, we'd have to pack everything up, drive in traffic, go and unpack it, and do a presentation. Or training was mostly in person, or support. We did it over the phone and didn't really what are you seeing on your screen? So today we take for granted all the things we can do because
absolutely.
Of the internet. So from presentations to support to training to marketing, look what we're doing here. This is going to ultimately end up, on the internet, right? So the internet has completely, like you said, flipped our industry upside down, which is great. And the form factor, like you said, so things have gotten smaller. Heck, I think you guys are filming this stuff on iPads, which I think is great. So.
Yeah, and again, iPads, everything from a video camera to a cash register and everything in between. So it's absolutely changed what we do. We've only been in business 4 or 5 years now. Technology has changed so much in that time alone.
Paper too, right? There's no, we don't have our customers signing paper anymore, right? They're using, digital signatures. So even that's...
I've had to borrow a printer over the last year from a friend of mine just because I don't ever print anything. Can I borrow your printer? Once or twice, every other month maybe. So it's incredible how quickly it's changed. Yeah. So then let's talk a little about what you want the future of this business to look like. What's your vision for the future? You guys have been in business for a long time. You obviously seems like you're doing some great stuff. You're going to be around for a while. What do you want this to turn into?
Well, the ultimate vision of providing technology to retailers to improve their businesses hasn't changed. So it's just that we've gone from providing a point of sale inventory control system, and that's all we do. Now we provide people counting technology, so we can help retailers know what their conversion rate is. We're going to announce at the beginning of next year digital signage, because we think there's a large opportunity demand for consumers that want to go and shop at retailers that display the merchandise and have an interactive experience using digital signage.
Yeah, I see those at hotels and malls, the large screens you can go up to and touch them and interact with.
Yeah, exactly. And that technology is just really pretty scary. It can determine the age, the gender, it can adjust the messaging based on weather or, like I said, who it thinks is in front of it.
Yeah.
So that can help a retailer actually customize a message to that consumer at that moment. So.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like iBeacons in a sense that it can track you in a store, and then based on what you're doing or who you are, give you personalized recommendations is pretty powerful.
Yes, exactly, and we are getting into that as well. So.
If you could go back to day one, maybe even sooner before you had this idea in your head to pursue this, what kind of advice would you have given yourself?
That's a very good question. And on any given day, I'd probably give you a different answer. Today, however, I would do probably a few things. I would tell myself, develop your own technology. We sell other people's technology, which is great, but ultimately we're not in control
Of the end product.
of the end product. And you build relationships with people, and then the business might turn, right, flip, and there's new ownership or new management, and they might have a different vision. We have great vendors, and in no way am I saying we have a problem with that, but it would be great if I had, 30 years ago, created my own and be ultimately in charge of it. Yeah, and I would just tell myself to probably relax a little bit and enjoy the ride. When I was younger, the littlest things really would bother me, and it's just now looking back and going, that really wasn't that big of a deal. So if you're going to run your own business, enjoy it. I liken it to an artist, and I have a never-ending canvas, and so I enjoy. A lot of times people will say, "Don't you? You work a lot of hours," and I say, "No, I don't. I do not work a lot of hours. I get to play a lot of hours. So you really got to love what you do."
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. And let's say for an entrepreneur in any industry, what advice would you offer them if they were just starting out in any business?
Have a good mentor if possible, somebody that will give you the real answer you need to make some tough decisions. Yeah, I had to make a few of those when I was younger, and I'm really thankful that I had somebody that said, this is going to be hard, but you should look at that. And like I said, if you're younger, use time to your advantage. So work hard now. Do the time. Your friends are going to go to a football game or play video games or go to a party. Don't go. Instead, work and get ahead and build the business so that you can have the freedoms later. And I don't know if I told you earlier, but I just got my pilot's license. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was strictly working with someone else. And so
that's the ultimate freedom.
That is the ultimate freedom. It's awesome up there. But so don't be afraid. Work hard, persevere, and sacrifice. So that when you're in your 30s, in your 40s, you get to enjoy it.